Hello, everyone. Here, Ulysses Lavaroni for Cyclical Dreams. I have the pleasure to be with Daryl Groetsch and Paul Ellis and for this new release for Cyclical Dreams. And we have the pleasure to meet these guys with a very nice background. And welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, the idea is to approach to your work with two questions to know more about your background. And the first one, it will be, how do you arrive to this kind of music, and how do you arrive to this kind of concepts in music? I think that you have both different experiences, so it will be great to listen.
Sure. You want to go first, Paul? Sure. I started off with an interest in it back in '77. I bought Klaus Schulze Mirage, Snowflakes Are Dancing by Tavita, Stratosphere by Tangerine Dream, and Oxygen by Jean-Michel Jarre within a week, and it blew my mind. I heard it was a sound that seemed very familiar, even though it was at that time very brand new. So I've always wanted to do that, but it wasn't until sometime in the '80s where I could actually afford a synthesizer, because they were prohibitively expensive in the late '70s. So I started working. I've been recording, like seriously releasing this stuff since about '91. And then I met Amir. He was working at Apple Music. A friend of mine was working there, and but Joel wouldn't know anything about electronic music. But I went in there and I bumped into him. We started talking, and I could tell he really knew his stuff. And that's when we first met, way back when. But yeah, to me, the sequencers, I'm really interested in how they can interlock patterns in sort of geometric patterns. And there's, to me, one of the greatest things about it is there's a sense of freedom. You know, you're not locked into, like, if you're writing a song, there's usually lyrics and there's like a concrete story. So a great part of the appeal to me is this abstract quality, this total sense of freedom. It can mean anything I want it to mean, you know.
There's not so much structures in this kind of music. You can create with sequencers any kind of structure and go as you like.
You can. Not everything I do is improvised, in the sense. Usually, the first few layers are improvised, but then over the top of it, I can construct something that's a little more precise. Maybe I know the flow of the land, and I can accent certain features. So the origin or the foundation of it is built on improvisation. But I do like adding some structures later sometimes.
So you got both improvisation and kind of architectural buildings. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Like it. And you,
So,
Darren?
Yeah. For me, being a kid in the '80s, I was listening to, there was this radio program called Music from the Hearts of Space. And there's actually that radio program out of California had a label called Hearts of Space. But as a kid, I was listening to that program a lot because my dad had it on all the time. And it was late at night, and it's just ambient space music, an hour uninterrupted. And kind of blew me away just hearing that sort of music for the first time. So then I was in music school, and that was in the mid '90s, and I started listening to stuff like Aphex Twin and Orb and Future Sound of London. There's like kind of an ambient side to the electronic music coming out at that time, and then I started getting into older stuff like Tangerine Dream, and somehow I just was always way more interested in ambient music, that is music without heavy drum beats. Just guess I just liked spacing out. I don't know. Anyway, Paul mentioned I was working at Apple Music. That's not like Apple Computer. That was the name of a local music store, and I worked in the keyboard department. So he'd come in and we'd start talking synthesizers and stuff like that. And that was in like 2001. So, and we don't live in the same town, but we live in the same area.
Pretty close.
We're in Portland, Oregon right now. Paul lives outside of Portland in the woods in Washington. And
where the Wi-Fi is really bad, so that's why I'm here.
Yeah. And to answer your question about how we recorded the album, some of the, so it was done over a number of years. Sometimes we get together in person and improvise, and that was all recorded either at Paul's studio or at my studio. Then some of the other pieces we did over the internet. One of us would start it and send tracks. The other would add tracks, send it back and forth. And as I recall, that happened even with the stuff we had recorded in person. We still added stuff to it. And then Paul is kind of the mastermind behind it in terms of editing and creating the final product and adding all the effects and doing all the mixing. That was him. But yeah, it was a collaboration over a number of years and recorded in many different ways.
So there's a lot of experience as background in this work. Because and it's a question of improvisation, but too about editing and restructuring plans. I can guess. And you usual work together, or is something that happens sometimes, or you have gigs or something like that, projects? Okay.
He plays out live a lot. I don't play out live so much.
No.
We mostly have our independent projects, but we, get together and play music sometimes. Not regularly, but we have over the years, over the past 20 years.
Yeah.
But we have our individual projects.
20 years.
Yeah, 20 years. 2001, man.
Quite a lot.
My goodness. Yeah, we had a couple things in the work, and I think actually what kind of kicked off this specific project was I was playing with basically it's sort of like a gate and a filter combination, and it would make rhythms by subtracting frequencies. So I was really became fascinated by creating the rhythm via subtraction rather than adding a snare drum sound. You're subtracting, and so, which is not, I mean, it's not totally uncommon in recordings, but where I think maybe our project's a little different, we put entire mixes through that and then play over the top of that. So the underneath part wouldn't be static, it'd be constantly changing, but there was a rhythm superimposed or cut out of it, if you will, that negative space creating the rhythms. It's kind of the initial thing. And
yeah, for this particular album, that sort of effect was utilized a lot, where the overall mix kind of pulsates rhythmically. I think that's where the title.
Yeah,
that's kind of where the title.
Yep. But since it's inverted, it's kind of inverted rather than adding a percussive sound. We're subtracting to get that effect. That's where I got the interior part.
This is a very interesting project and very interesting process. I mean, to take out things, because this music is so delicate as well. So
yeah,
you can hear beyond all those holes in between the spaces. So this is beautiful to know that you keep this idea when you are working. It's not a thing by chance. It's a think of it's a philosophy to take out things, and it's very beautiful and very necessary nowadays as well.
Yeah.
Because we don't need all the stimuli that is going around. There's so much details in the vacuum space that we create.
Yeah, I agree. There's just kind of like an information overload anymore. So that's where, the kind of music that your label does and the kind of music that we do comes into play. Creating basically a quiet space.
Yeah. I've always liked the name of the record label that Peter Baumann started called Private Music, because I've always felt that this music is indeed very private and it's very interior. It's not something you're going to put on at a party, but for like quiet, immersive environments, to me, it's like there's nothing better.
That's great. That's I think those are the final words.
You might put it on in an opium den sort of party, something like that.
I don't know if
by
anybody.
the way, there's a lot of people that love it. because we just don't need all the things that are promoted massively, and so this is beautiful that people like you preserving the meanings and quality of depth and the details and all the qualities of deep listening, as Pauline Oliveros.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Deep listening,
exactly,
definitely.
yeah.
We're both
Yeah.
big
Deep
fans.
listening process that is
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
thank you, guys. Thank you for your time, and thank you for working together and make very quality works. And it's a pleasure for Cyclical Dreams to have your first release here. And we are a South American version of This Intention, so
Nice.
we're happy to,
Yeah.
We've been
to go
we've been
unite
combing
and
through
connect.
we've been going through the Bandcamp page and listening to various albums. I really like what I hear. I like it a lot. Very good stuff on there.
Yeah, we're happy to be a part.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time.